So, welcome to the Ideal Life. This is the Ideal Life with host Rhea C. Newbold, and we have with us Miss Dallas Gordon, who's going to be our guest for today. Dallas is going to be talking to us on the topic identifying your passion and making noise in the digital space. I'm super excited to have you on with me, Dallas, and let me just tell you who Dallas is. Dallas Gordon is an e-commerce coach, marketing strategist, author, and speaker who specializes in teaching entrepreneurs how to increase traffic, sales, and conversions in the online space. She also encourages excellence in the marketplace and is passionate about empowering others to create the freedom lifestyle. And just before Dallas gets started and giving us a little synopsis as to what she's going to talk about for today, I just want to let you know I'm also an author, speaker, an author of multiple books, 8 of them that I have that's written, and hailing all the way from Nassau, Bahamas. And this is an amazing time that we've had here, been on tour all weekend, and this is how we wrap up the tour, having this wonderful conversation with Dallas. Dallas, happy to have you with me today.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Listen, we're going to get straight into our topic for today, which is how to identify your passion and make noise in the digital space. Now, I know as we would have prepared for the show or even had a little pre-conversation, I want you to tell us, why do women struggle with identifying their purpose?
I believe it's because as women, we get stuck in so many different roles, whether it's family roles, whether it's us identifying with who the world tells us that we should be. And those different things mask our purpose and bury our purpose so deep. And that's why I believe that we as women have a challenge with getting into that real core of who we are. We get involved with our kids, our spouses, we get lost in so many things. And I think that over time we forget about us.
Well, I think even as you're talking about the different roles that women carry or the different roles that we have, I like to use the terminology that women with multiple hats.
Yes.
We have all these
Right.
hats, and it's so easy that we put ourselves on the back burner or put ourselves on the side because of the many things that we have to do. And just as you say, as the wife, the mother, even the teacher,
Yes.
whatever it is that you may find yourself doing, it causes you, I think it's just even innate in us as women.
Yes.
Because we are the caretakers.
The nurturers.
The nurturers, right.
Mm-hmm.
We just know how to go ahead and do for so many others. And it's almost natural for us to just leave ourselves undone, on the side, on the back burner, until, probably crash time comes. And then we'd be like, maybe I did not even take time to figure out what my purpose.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, what am I supposed to do?
Right. After the kids are grown and everybody's gone, what's left for me to do?
So what has been the thing that actually allowed you to come to that place of finding purpose? Because I know that you are a wife, you're also a mother, and you have young kids. So what has been that thing that caused you to now say, something, this is my purpose, this is the thing that I've been called to do, created to do. How did you find that space?
Wow. So it's kind of like a little bit of a long story, but it's been a journey for me finding my purpose. And I don't think that journey ever really ends. I think that I'm walking more fully in my purpose today than I was some years ago, but it's been a journey for me. And I think it's a journey for most women where it gets nurtured when we're children. I always knew that something was there. I always knew that there was something greater that I'm supposed to do or that I'm supposed to pour out into the world. And over time, different events, cause you to be broken a little bit more. And I think that it's in those times of brokenness that you say, wow, something's here. I have something that needs to be poured out.
Yeah. That's the life moments. And I like to tell people life no matter what it is that you're doing, as you continue to journey on, life just simply happens. And then when you get the wrench in the road moment that causes you to actually stop and have to think and reflect to say, something, hold up. Something's happening here, and I need to take stock, because a lot of times, because it's so many roles that we have and we're just constantly going, we don't really take the time to stop.
Right.
And sometimes we just need I like to say, whoa, horsey.
Yeah.
A whoa horsey moment, just to hold up just a minute, so that we can just breathe. And then finding that space to say that it's okay to stop for a minute, and not have to take off the hat for a minute to say, well, you know something, I'm not going to be the wife today, like in this moment. Yeah. And that's where you have the self-care.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that if we don't, make time for that, then we come to those forced stops. And I think that that's what happened for me. Like everything in my life seemingly at once. There's a saying that when it rains, it pours. Started to pour down on me all at once. So I had to stop. It was like, because I wouldn't make that time for myself to stop, to go inward, to reflect. I had to stop because it was so much going on. I couldn't. Oh goodness, my earring. It's okay.
Listen to me. When
we can do without it for now.
This is what happens, right?
Right.
Life happens.
It's okay because it's under there.
Right. Prime example. Life happens, and then you have to stop.
Exactly. I'll just put it right here. But yeah, I came to that forced stop where I had to stop because it was so much going on with me, and in my life. My dad passed unexpectedly, really early. Wow. I was in court battles, all kinds of stuff. Anything that could happen at once, it happened. So it made me pause because I just couldn't move. I felt almost like paralyzed spiritually, like I couldn't pray, and I literally felt like, I have to keep it going for my kids because I felt like just laying in bed all day. Yeah. Just saying,
the good thing even about that, a lot of times I wrote a book that's called It's Time to Push. That's the first book that I wrote. And one of the things, even in that, is that in the midst of where life circumstances may find you, I like to tell you have to keep on pushing. Right. And it's what's your why? And a part of the reason a lot of persons, a lot of wives, a lot of mothers even keep it moving is because of my children. Yeah. The children cause you to do a whole lot of stuff. And Absolutely. Even in the book I talk about, as a mother, when it comes time for you feeling ill or feeling sick, if your son or your daughter comes at you, Mommy, I need, what do? You respond.
Right? Push.
Right. You respond. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, no matter how bad you may be feeling, if your child calls upon you, you respond. Absolutely. And that's only natural as a mother to go ahead and do. So let's talk about, because I know we could talk about motherhood and
all night.
All of the stuff about women and women's struggles all night. We really can do that. But let's talk about 3 ways to return to what you loved as a child in order to feel fulfilled.
Yes, absolutely. So the child within, it never dies. That child never goes away. That child always is ready to play. But as we grow older, it's like we sit that child down in a corner and say, you be quiet because I have to be an adult now. And that is one of the worst things that we can do, as we grow into womanhood, right? So I am making a call, to those women out there to return to that child that you once were. And some ways that you can do that is, number 1, by really focusing on self-love. Really focus on loving yourself, because I got to a point like in my early adulthood, like early 20s, where I thought I loved myself, but I really realized that I didn't. And I think a lot of women, we spend time pouring into others that love, but are we really loving us? And what does that mean? So I think that when we take that time to say, you know what, because when you love yourself, like for instance, if you look at that relationship that you have with someone else that you love, what do? You spend time talking to them. You spend time with them, right? You spend time getting to know them. Well, some of those same things are things that you could do for yourself, right? It's not possible to love yourself if you don't know yourself.
Listen, the thing about it is some people say it's a bad thing to talk to yourself.
But it is not, right? And that's what we tell that inner child, right? Because my little ones are toddlers. They talk to themselves all the time like it's nothing. Right?
They have their play friends.
Right, exactly. So we have to start to talk to ourselves. What do you want today? How are you feeling today? What would make you feel better? What do you enjoy doing? So I feel like getting that dialogue started with yourself. You don't always have to be around people. Learning how to be by yourself. I remember a time when I was younger, I had to take my mom everywhere. I couldn't go by myself. I wasn't comfortable with myself. Wow. And a lot of women are like that. Why do you always have to have a friend with you? Why do you always have to have a family member with you everywhere that you go? So I think that it's because we really aren't comfortable in our own skin. So the first step, I believe, with returning to that inner child is just get more comfortable with us. Asking ourselves questions, loving ourselves more. The second one is to get in action of doing those things that we used to do. Like I know with me when I was a child, I remember standing at that chalkboard with my chalk and turning around and talking to my imaginary students, right?
So you wanted to be a teacher?
I wanted to be a teacher along with so many other things I wanted to be, right? Mm-hmm. So I started falling into that. I started nurturing that more. I was a writer. I like to write poetry like your friend and all these things, right? I started writing again, right? And then the third step is to pay attention to how you feel when you start to do those things. And see how the fire ignites within you, right?
The little kid just starts to do all of the flipping over, the cartwheels, and the jumping up and down, leaping. Yes.
Right. It doesn't feel like work anymore. When you show up into your passion, it doesn't feel like work. Because it's something you were born to do.
Yeah. Finding your passion in the thing that you love to do. And, it goes back to a part of a conversation that I had the other day. And talking about how is it that you can find this other stream of income or some idea of what it is that you can actually do. It's the thing that actually can keep you up all hours of the night, and you don't even feel the time. Absolutely. The time just goes. It flies by, and you have all of the excitement, you have all of the energy, and guess what? It's also the thing that people always come to you for.
Absolutely.
That's a way of finding this is another stream of income or something that I can go ahead and do, because this is where the people are coming. They want advice. They need your help with this. If you're good at technology, people always, I need your help with this.
Right.
Listen, a lot of people, and it's not just women alone, it's the men as well, that's leaving a whole lot of money just on the ground and on the tables and not paying attention to what it is that they can actually do to help themselves. And it ties back, it goes right back. Why is it that we need to be stuck with the one stream of income? Look at some of these pinpoint some of these occurrences of things that we would like to do as children, or we wanted to do, and see how it now translates into what it is or where it is that we find ourselves now, because I do believe that all of our life's journey would leave us clues.
Yes.
We have the clues all along the way, but are we paying attention to the clues that we're actually getting?
Right, that's good. Yes.
We have to pay attention to the clues, pick them up, and put the pieces together as time goes on.
Right, absolutely.
All right. Man, this is good.
It's real good.
I'm enjoying myself. Let's see. The third thing. Let's talk about the key things that women do which results in them not having a greater impact.
I think one of the things is our thinking, our thoughts. And I had got together with some ladies in my group recently, and we talked about that, because each woman at that table had something that they're in love with, like a passion of theirs. But some of them weren't really making noise. They weren't really making noise about that because of their mindset. And it's your self-talk. It's what you tell yourself. So if you're always telling yourself that nobody wants to hear what I have to say, this idea that it keeps me awake at night, nobody's going to want to hear about it. People aren't going to take me seriously. But you know what? I'm too busy with the kids. I'm too busy supporting the boyfriend, the husband, the partner, whoever. And nobody wants to hear this. So I think that it's our self-talk. We tell ourselves that we're not important enough. We tell ourselves that our ideas aren't important enough. And I think that we just keep bearing it. We just keep bearing it down on the inside.
Well, that's where we have to change the negative thinking into the positive thinking, and I love to talk about affirmations.
Yes.
We have to be able to find those things, and I'm going to say it. For the negative thoughts that you probably may have, for those of you here in the audience, for the negative thoughts that you probably may have, I would suggest to you write a list out of the thoughts that may come to mind as they come up. They may not all come up at once. They may come up over a period of time, that you may have a negative thought that actually comes up here today, or it may come up tomorrow. But when that negative thought comes up, you make a note of that negative thought. But then as you make a note of that negative thought, I want you to write out the positive.
Yes.
Yeah. What's going to be the positive thing that's going to combat or fight against the negative thought that you have,
Right.
and continue to repeat those positive thoughts consistently, time and time again, so that you can reinforce that message of, you know something, I can, I will.
Yes.
It's not about, oh, yeah, you may have the butterfly moments, you may be afraid at times. You may have to take a leap of faith here or there. It's okay for you to take that leap, not to
Right.
just get so caught up in saying, something, I am not going to do this because it seems so far-fetched.
Right.
It seems so beyond. No, it's within reach. Technology now has made things so much more easier for us to go ahead and connect. And that's how we got connected.
Right. Absolutely.
Just by simply
Simple message.
sending a message on
Right.
Messenger.
DMs. Right.
So who is it that you need to go ahead and DM today? Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. The worst thing that can happen is the person can either say yes or they can
no.
say no.
Yeah.
That's the two options, yes or no. And you know something? I want to even encourage the persons, even if it's a no, the no may not, it just may mean not this time.
Right.
Not right now. This may just not be the time for it,
Right.
but the opportunity can still come back later on.
Absolutely.
But don't see that as the closed door and then you totally shut yourself all the way down and don't want to go ahead and do anything at all.
Right.
All right, man, this is good. So what is the number one secret that every woman ought to know?
The number one secret that I would say every woman needs to know is that the power that you need to accomplish whatever you want, your dreams, that idea that's been burning on the inside of you is within. It's within. You don't need anything external to make it happen for yourself. And I think that a lot of us think we're not equipped. We don't have everything that we need to get out here and be fire to make it happen. But everything is on the inside. Yeah. We are literally fully equipped to unlock the treasure within. And I talk about the treasure within in my book, actually, From Pain to Power, where I have a whole chapter dedicated to the treasure within. Yeah. That sometimes we are searching. We spend our whole lives searching for these tools and these people and these things and these missing pieces to the puzzle when all along everything we needed is inside of us.
Now, even though, and I agree with you that we have a whole lot of stuff, because I like to talk about the wells of wealth, and speaking to the wells of wealth that we are, even as individuals. We have a whole lot of wealth that's locked up on the inside of us,
right.
And it's really just a matter of having the opportunity for it to be unlocked, for it to be unleashed, and for it to be unveiled and revealed,
yes.
in order for us to embrace a whole lot more of who it is that we are as individuals, so that we can leave the impact.
Right.
But also, I want to add to that, as apart from, in addition to us realizing that we have these things on the inside of us, we also need to understand the power of connection.
Oh, yes.
The power of connection, the power of collaboration, the power of networking, and also not being afraid to
yes.
reach out.
Right.
And even as we just talked about it just now, how technology has made things so much easier for us, but understand that you going alone is not the answer.
Absolutely. We talked about that when we met up, actually. Yeah. So I don't say that to say that you don't ever need a coach. You don't need a friend. You don't need a business partner. You don't need somebody to collaborate with. But so many people walk around feeling inadequate. Yeah. You don't need those things to feel adequate. You don't need those things to be somebody. It adds, but you don't necessarily need them to get started. And you don't need that. You don't need that to get started. It's good to have those things. So I'm not saying, just be alone or do everything by yourself. You definitely need other people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so many people go into everyday life feeling so inadequate, and they feel like they need another person in order to feel adequate, in order to feel qualified, and that's not true.
And it's a matter of believing in yourself.
Absolutely.
You really have to have that strong belief in yourself that you are able, you are capable, you are sufficient.
Right.
And doing the things that's necessary in order to equip yourself, because as much as we may know, there's still some more that we don't know.
Absolutely.
And you have to do what it takes in order for you to learn more. Position yourself even to do the courses. Courses are online now. Make sure you get yourself engaged in the courses, attend workshops, attend seminars, whatever it is that you can do to help yourself, position yourself so that you can be better equipped to even handle the day-to-day activities, or even what it is that you want to accomplish, what it is that you want to go ahead and achieve. Position yourself. You cannot blame anyone else. You have to take the responsibility for yourself and said, you know something, I'm going to take ownership for my destiny. I'm going to make sure I do what it takes for me to get to my next level. No excuses. Excuses not permitted.
Right. 100%.
Excuses not permitted. So how do you, because I know you talked about, and this would have been a part of our conversation we had the other day with the online space. How do we go ahead and begin to make noise in a digital space? And I want you to take a little longer time here with how to make noise in a digital space, because there's a whole lot of things that's actually happening digitally right now. And, you know, it's easy to get distracted and get so caught up with, split-second things just happening just like that. How can someone go ahead and create noise in an already crowded space?
I tell people all the time that, because a lot of people are stuck between, should I go local or should I go digital? I'm more of a local person or I'm more of a digital person. It's okay to mix it up. It's okay to mix it up because we live in a digital world. And if you aren't tapping in to that piece, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. You know, and that's what I tell people, that it's very important to make noise in the digital space. And just to share some ways that you can do that, one thing that I want everybody to keep in mind about that is that on foot, we can only reach a certain amount of people.
Most definitely.
You know, physically getting into a plane, you know, riding a train, getting in a car, going wherever we need to go, we can only reach a certain amount of people physically, because we physically can't be everywhere all the time. But what's powerful about the digital space is we can. There are strategies that we can put in place to reach the masses where otherwise we would have never reached them. You know, some people know my name in Africa. Some people know my name in Puerto Rico and Greece and all these different places. These people probably would have never known my name if I was just in Baltimore, Maryland, doing interviews or networking events. Maybe I would not have reached people across the globe, right? Me and you would have never met if it wasn't for the digital space. So some ways that we can make noise in the digital space is just by, number one, is just to get started. Just get started. Just get showing up. Don't be afraid to make noise and share with people what you do.
Yeah, well, you said just show up. Show up how? Where?
So it depends on.
Let's just go down.
Yeah, we're going to break it down.
For someone who probably they're not aware as to, something, I'm just doing it, pounding the pavement, going from door to door, doing the footwork. And I need to really get into the digital space. I'm not tech savvy, but I need to understand what's one of the first things that I can actually do that's going to help me almost immediately. And you know something, I would say to you, I'm going to challenge you to make sure it's something that's easy. It's easy enough for children actually. They can do a lot more than the adults.
Absolutely.
On these
they can do a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, you just want to get started somewhere. You want to go where the people are. So, it's one thing to just get online and create a website, but if you don't have traffic to that website, it's no real point right now. So if you're brand new, what social media platform do you want to get started on? Okay, the most popular ones out there right now are Instagram, Facebook. Twitter's okay, but you have YouTube as well. So what platform calls your name? Which one do you feel more comfortable with? Well, you want to get started and you want to start connecting with people and just observing how the platform works. So somebody who's just never done this before and they need like first steps to get started, the first thing you want to do is, start showing up. One of these platforms, okay, whichever one of these popular ones you want to join first. I would say if you want to reach a younger audience, you can get started on Instagram. If you want to reach more of a mid-age to older audience, get started on Facebook, right? I would say get started on one of these platforms. Start talking to people, networking, joining groups, befriending people, okay? And then the second step would be you want to start brand building. So you want to know, okay, I know a lot of people may already have businesses in place, but they're just not in the digital space, or some people don't have anything. So it's hard to give it all out today, okay? But to say overall, you want to ask a question, which I hate to give it away because I know that's one of the next ones, but you want to ask yourself, what do you want to be known for on social media?
Yeah. But the thing about it is, I want you to go back even to the first point that you actually gave, and I think the thing that actually came to mind was talking about target audience. Who's your target audience? Because even as you talked about, the younger audience is probably like the Instagram, and the more mature persons are probably on the Facebook. You have to know who your target audience is and know where they are, so that you can show up in those places where these persons are. Because it's nothing like you're in a space that's not even where your target persons are.
Yeah.
And that means whatever it is that you're doing, it's pointless.
Right, exactly. And a lot of my clients that come to me, the main reason that they come to me is because they're online, but they're online in a way that no one's going to find them. And they feel disappointed by that. They feel stuck. Well, I'm online. I set up this website. No one's coming. No one's visiting. No traffic. Sometimes one of the first steps is to go where they are. Like you said, research. Okay, where's your target market? Where do they hang out? Okay, and then go there. And the first steps is to create your profile and start talking to them. Start building relationships with them. That's one of the first things you want to do.
Well, listen, I'm just going to be the advocate, right? You're saying to go ahead on social media to just start talking to people. For the person that's the introvert and they're just already saying, something I can say to myself, why do I need to go ahead and how do I even start that conversation?
Yeah, I know it's difficult because I'm that, I can be that person and I have been that person, but you got to push yourself. I mean, it's a lot of ways that you can get the conversation started. You can get the conversation by just a hello, how are you? Like just on a basic level, when you friend people, there can be a simple message that you send people just, and the good part, you're hiding behind your keyboard.
And that's also the scary part.
A little bit, yeah.
Because people can be hiding behind the keyboard for real.
Oh yeah, that's true. But the only way that you're going to get started in the digital space is to face those fears and start those conversations. Sometimes it just starts with the hello, how are you? Thank you for connecting with me. What is it that you do?
Yeah.
I've
found that even with having to connect with some other persons online, when I'm not sure if I would have done it, I would have sent a friend request to someone or something like that, and the automated response came back, so what's the reason?
Yeah, I've had that too.
Yeah, and I thought it was very interesting because the thing about it is it actually helps to streamline
who you connect with.
Right, who it is that you're connecting with and the purpose for the connection. And I've actually done it with some persons as well, with persons who are, sending the friend request, wanting to be a friend, like, let me understand what's the purpose of this connection. Because sometimes it will very well be a clear indication that this is a connection strictly for, this is business.
Yeah.
Like and even with that same person, it was quite clear up front, our interests were similar. And the response that she would have given when I asked someone that same question, they were like, something, well, I'm looking forward to the possibility of collaborating on networking with some of the things that we have similar interests. We're at different places, and maybe we can now come together and see what it is that we can do to just join the move, or not even just join the movement, but join forces in different places. So
that's the beauty of it. I mean, you can ask those questions. You know what I mean? Like, you can say to a person that, what was it that attracted you to my profile? And I've asked that question before, just in curiosity. What was it? And that person might say, I could see quickly that you're a businesswoman, you're a boss, you're a boss mom. I'm the same. I like to surround myself with other like-minded individuals, which is typically the answer, but it's okay. If people ask you that question, or you want to ask that question, it's a great way to warm up the DMs. The DMs is a very powerful way to get the conversation started. Your post, post things to your timeline that could provoke thought, or could be sharing something that you don't mind sharing that could resonate with that audience that you're looking for. I would just say use the platform intentionally. It's all about being intentional. Instead of just showing up and just using it, be intentional. Put a little thought behind your post. If your target audience is ladies, maybe you can do a thought-provoking post that maybe women with children would respond to well. And then you've got that engagement going on right in your comments. Ladies, comment below.
Listen, I've done this to people before too, with putting out a post, and if it's not even just a friend of mine or someone who I'm familiar with, and they like the post, they comment, and I send them a message.
Yeah.
And that's what gets
Taking
the
it a
conversation
little further.
Yeah, I'm going
Yeah.
to take it a little further because at the end of the day, you know, with people actually being able to see what it is that you have to offer, they're adding comment to what it is that you're saying, then they see value
Yeah.
in what it is that you're doing. And especially even when you see it becoming something that happens consistently as well, you pay attention to those things because, yet again, these are the little clues that's being added, that's being dropped right in front of you so that you can, you know, something, maybe I need to pay attention.
Absolutely.
Maybe I need to pay attention. And even it gives indicators what may be a very hot topic that you now can become the authority in.
Right.
Because you're knowledgeable about it, whatever your background may be on a particular topic, it may be a very good indication of even another stream of income
Yes.
that you can actually pull content from. Because even the posts are good ways. That's a good way
Market
for you
research.
to get
Yes.
research as well as content for when you're talking about writing books,
Yep.
filling out or even sending out blogs, all of those kinds of things.
Absolutely. I agree. Yes.
All right, good stuff. Wait, this is good. So for those of you that's actually just catching this portion of the show, this is actually The Ideal Life, a new format of The Ideal Life, which is usually aired in Nassau, Bahamas every Saturday. But this time we're actually doing it on stage and live. This is such an amazing, this is history in the making, Dallas. You're part of history.
All right. I'm excited about it. Absolutely.
And this is yet again prime example, the power of networking, the power of collaboration, and not being afraid to extend a hand and even reach out to someone who you can possibly connect with.
Yes.
Oh boy. And this is one of the final points that we actually have, but it's not just the final point for the day because we'll continue the conversation. Let's talk about when people see you on social, what do you want them to know? And I know you kind of hit on it already, but I want you to talk on it a little bit more. What do you want them to know? Like, what should you tell people on social? Because, you know, social media is the place where, for a lot of people, a whole lot of things happen. A whole lot of things go on. They share a whole lot of personal information.
Yeah.
What do you recommend, based on your experience, what do you recommend that people put on social media?
Yeah, this is a question that, you know, if you want to make noise, you know, in the digital space, it's a good question for you to ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? So if someone scrolls your profile, I just want this to be the thinking, you know, of everyone that wants to make more noise. What do I want to be known for? If someone visits my page and they scroll for a few minutes, what do I want them to pick up immediately? And we really have to think about why we're on social media and are we using it intentionally? Because is that person going to pick up that you are focused on celebrity gossip, that you are, you know, that you start a lot of drama, you know, that you just had an argument the other day? They're immediately going to get turned off from that. And you may attract the same type of people to your profile who aren't necessarily going to want to do business with you. So it's another thing you got to be mindful of is being too much to the right, too. What I mean by that is being too businessy on your personal profile.
There has to be a proper mix.
It's got to be a proper balance because if somebody, me specifically, if someone friends me and I see that they're posting about their jewelry parties, every single post, I'm just not going to friend them.
I had that experience before, and I'm like, you know something? No, this is not going to work for me because at the end of the day, it shows motives.
Yeah.
What's the motivation behind what it is that you're doing?
Yeah.
And why is it that you're wanting to approach me?
Yeah, and we have to understand that when we want to travel somewhere, there's a certain way that we need to go. There's a certain path or roadmap. We have directions, right, to get there. And we have to remember that that's true on these social media platforms, that they were created for people to be social. They weren't necessarily created, like the initial idea was not for people to be sold onto things all the time. So as you know, they log in for free. They create an account for free. So if you jump right on and you're like, here's everything I have to offer, and that's all you talk about, you're going to turn people off. So it's got to be like a healthy mix of both. People want to, and I just posted a video about this the other day, people want to like, know, and trust you before you can even start talking about or doing business with them in the digital space. So how are they going to do that? They're going to do that by seeing that you're a real person and that they can relate to you. So what do I want to be known for? Let's start with me. When someone comes to my page, I want them to know that I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm a boss. all three things, that I'm able to balance all of those three things. And that's the type of audience that I wish to attract as well into my business. My ideal client, my average client or customer or student falls in that whole mom boss. Maybe they're not a mom, maybe they're a woman, maybe they're retired, but it falls into that whole woman thing. Have some men trickling in between, but it's mainly woman. And when they come in, wow, this is somebody who's doing it and
who's killing it.
She's sharing though, she's sharing her personal struggles. She's being transparent, she's being open with where she is.
Now listen, the thing about it is it's easier said than done. I think even when we're talking about being transparent, even in the online space, how much of transparency?
Well, yeah. Whoa, back to balance again.
Right, because, I think there are some persons, sometimes you can find that it really goes beyond.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the level of transparency that shows up in that online space.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that's not...
I always say, and some people might get offended by this, but this is what I believe. Facebook is not your prayer journal, okay? And it's not, it's not your personalized journal where everything that you need to say to God or everything that you need to say personally in your head goes there. Especially if you're trying to be a business owner on there, you're trying to use it intentionally. It's not any of those things.
But yet again, though, there are persons who use the social media space to hide.
Yeah, that
because
too.
They're not, I guess, strong enough to actually face the individual to say, something, I have a problem with this. I'm challenged with that. Yeah. So I'm just going to put it on social media and then let the whole world see.
Yeah, it's a lot of drama, too.
Yeah, a whole lot of drama. But, one of the things I actually encourage my children with a whole lot is that, something, you have to be mindful of the things that you put on social media because what you put out there,
gone. There forever.
It. Right. Yeah. What you put out there, you can't pull it back.
Nope.
You can't pull it back. So you have to be very, very mindful.
Absolutely,
and that's something I like to even encourage the adults with. Understand what it is that you're putting out there in the social media post. Not everything needs to be out there. And, like you said, we have to have that proper balance so that we can know what it is that we're wanting to put out there, as well as making sure that people understand what it is that we're doing. And it's for the newbie that's coming up. Even with Facebook Live is still a challenge for a lot of persons, even this day and time, because it's not something that they are used to, they're accustomed to. So how do we get persons, or how would you encourage persons to get into the Facebook Live?
Ooh, yeah, okay. Maybe I can share my story and maybe that can help some people.
Facebook Live is still kind of fairly new for a whole lot of people. I know when I started, and even with me doing the weekly shows on the radio, I started out, and one of the things was, well, you need to go live. And I'm like, I don't do live.
Right. I was that way.
I don't do the lives. And what about me doing the video? And I know, it was difficult. But the thing about it is I got started. And mind you, there were a whole lot of hiccups at the beginning of time. At one point, I had the camera turned the wrong way. And, people's like, can you turn the camera? But it's okay. And those are real life moments or situations or things that we can learn from. And guess what? Everybody else get to be a part of that process too. So that's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to be afraid of, to say, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? And what if you don't? What if you don't? What if this is the thing that actually helps to take you to the next level? It's the next step. It's the next part of your process, because all of us are in a process.
Right.
And we have to understand that we are in a process. Even in a digital space, we're still in a process.
Right.
So how did you get started with the Facebook Live? Because I was shaking in my boots
I was
and all of that
I
stuff.
was too. I didn't want to do Facebook Live either. I was like, I'm extremely introverted. I'm extremely shy. I don't want to be on video. Very judgmental of myself, of being on video. So I was just terrified of it. And I told myself it wasn't for me. But one thing we have to keep in mind is the impact. Is the impact the end result? What's the end result? What is the impact that you want to have on the world. Right now, digital is video, okay, is one of the greatest ways, on social media and just online in general to make strong and powerful impact. Video is, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that focusing on the end result, if I can get over myself and go live, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes just to get started. And like you said, let your audience know, guys, bear with me. This is my first time. Let them go along on the journey with you. And one life on that live video can get changed.
Listen to
and
me.
I can reach them because I put my fears to the side.
The audience is so forgiving, though.
Yes.
They are so forgiving. And I found that even when I started the whole live thing, and even with the audience saying, well, you need to turn the camera, or you need to do that, they actually help you.
Yeah.
And because it's so many persons that's actually doing the lives and that kind of stuff, it makes it all the more even easier for the audience to be a lot more forgiving, because they understand that they themselves probably may have had the challenge, or they still are challenged.
Yes.
With the whole fear of going on live, because you know what one of the main fears is for a whole lot of people? The fear of failure and the fear of other people's opinions.
Yes.
The fear of other people's opinion that can cripple you so badly, because, and just how you talked about being judgmental of yourself.
Yep.
We are concerned about what this person has to say.
Yeah.
What might they think? Like, okay, does it really matter what they think?
Exactly.
At the end of
They're
the day,
going to forget anyway. The next 5 minutes, you'll be forgotten. Don't worry.
I have your attention that much.
Yeah.
I got your attention.
Right.
But we have to get beyond the fear of other people's opinion. That is something that I come across even with having a whole lot of conversation with women. And these are women that come to me, I mean, just for so many different things, having the business conversations, or even I have a group, it's called the Wells of Wealth Cultivators.
Okay.
It's a safe space. It's a movement of women, and it's the like-minded women that actually come together where we can talk about the business things. And it's not just business things. We talk about life. We talk about health. We talk about all of the different things that a woman actually faces. But a lot of women, I've found, even in having the conversations with them, they are really afraid of other people's opinions.
Yes.
And it's a thing that actually holds them hostage, that causes them not to move forward and not even step into the fullness of who it is that they really were created to be, because they are afraid that somebody else is going to say something.
Right.
Did you have that experience?
Yeah, I was definitely afraid at first. And talking about the power of the DMs, it was somebody who was a complete stranger who messaged me and says, I see what you're doing. Why aren't you going live yet? You're missing out on a big opportunity by not going live. Complete stranger.
Wow.
And that's how we got the conversation going. And I said, oh, my goodness, someone else said the same thing to me the other day. And he said, listen, I used to be afraid to go live, too. And he said that you have to remember that people won't remember you later. They don't care. So why should you? This is what he told me, and that one sentence set me free. Because I thought to myself, I'm looking at the pimple on my face, and I'm looking at the makeup, and I'm looking at the angle, but somebody else looking at me, they're not focused on any of that.
Listen, I've seen a whole lot of lives, and we're spending a lot more time here, but I've seen a whole lot of lives, and the things that, because I know I was one of them that was concerned about, the makeup, the hair, all of
the angles,
all of this kind of stuff. Like, how do they get it right? Like, how is this my good side?
That's how we do.
Right. So I was concerned about all of those things, but then I came to realize, is it really all about that? Or is it about the message? Mind you, your presentation, I mean, it's still
important.
There are some things that you still need to make sure that you have,
for sure.
kind of put together. But we need to get beyond having to be so critical of ourselves that we hold ourselves hostage and do not allow us to step forward into who it is that we were really created to be. And that's what I really want us, at the end of this whole conversation, you have to embrace the fullness of who it is that you are, no matter what.
Right.
Take the bull by this horn and say, something, I'm going to fulfill purpose. I'm going to fulfill destiny. I'm going to create some noise in the online space, no matter what.
Right.
What's the challenge?
Yeah.
Give our audience a challenge for them to take away, for something for them to do. Because I do believe that in the midst of us having this conversation with making noise in the online digital space, There are some persons who probably may have done everything that we talked about so far for today, but there are some persons out there that still hasn't done that just yet.
Right.
So what would be the thing that you would challenge him to do? And, you know, it may very well be go live.
Well, I just would say, you know, face your fears. Focus on the impact, you know, because the only way to unleash your passion is to take action. And that rhymes, right? The only way to unleash your passion is to take absolute action. And what is a small thing that you can do to get slightly uncomfortable to get you to your next level? What is it? Because for all of us, it's different. Whatever it is that scares you, like for me, and I was telling my mom on the way over that for me, it is, you know, going to big events with lots, because I'm kind of like an outgoing introvert, right? So going into events by myself with lots of people at once by myself. Nobody's with me, right? Having to shake hands with and introduce myself to new people. So I've booked conferences for myself this year in other states. One is in another country where I'm going alone. I'm traveling alone. I'm going alone. I'm going to walk into a room of women because it makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. That's going to get me to my next level, right? Yeah. So it's different for all of us what that is. It could be going live, right? It could be getting out there and just creating that social media account, because some people are just afraid to just do that. They feel, oh, it's so public, and I don't want to put myself out there. Maybe it's just hitting that button, you know, to add yourself to the platform. It's different for all of us, but I just would say, focus on the impact that you want to have.
Well, you know? There you have it. Focus on the impact, what it is that you want to have, the message that you want to go ahead and leave. Yeah. And take action. Don't forget to take action. I know one of the things, even as you talked about, just not being afraid. I know a few years ago, I did that. And, you know, I said, you know something, Rhea, you have to take it to the next level. Yeah. And it's no longer being afraid to say, you know something, I have to have somebody go along with me. I need to have a friend. I need to have this person go with me. No. I decided I went on a journey all by myself, traveling. And when I got to the place, what was there for me to do? The only thing I could have done, because I was by myself, I had no other choice than to introduce myself to people. You know, we have this thing actually at our church where we actually call it tweet and greet. So every Sunday we go find a stranger, find a visitor, and we take pictures. And I tell people, I'm like, you know something, listen, that was my training ground for when I went away. I was like, can I take a picture with you? And I'm snapping that shot, you know, and that actually gets the conversation started. So for those persons that actually may not even be familiar or maybe afraid, if you find yourself at a conference, at an event or something like that, and, you know, this is a good networking opportunity, then maybe you can ask, do you mind if we take a selfie or a picture? And those persons, we're still actually connected today. Wow. And during that time, I'll tell you, it was actually during my birthday time, and I took it to the next level, believe it or not. I went to the event by myself, flew over, it was in Tennessee, went there by myself, met these people, and guess what? I found myself some buddies. And we went out to dinner for my birthday.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
We went to, and, you know, that is all about embracing who it is that you are and not allowing the fear to cripple you. I'm not saying to be ignorant in terms of what it is that you do and not be wise. You still have to be wise in what it is that you're doing. But it was necessary for me to take myself or get myself to the next level and being able to accomplishing a whole lot more. And I am excited because I do believe that this, even a part of this experience here, this is taking yet another step. Right. And for you, it may be another step as well. I don't know. Is it another step?
It is another step. Yes, absolutely. Every opportunity, you know, that you have to connect with someone or show up somewhere is another step. What I believe into your greatness. It's just another step. I believe that.
And we have to not be afraid.
Right.
Not be afraid to take advantage of the opportunities when they present itself. Yeah. Have you had an opportunity that presented itself to you that you regret not grabbing a hold of when it came up?
Let's see. I really can't grab hold of that specific one right now. I can't think of one right now. I mean, I'm sure it's some, but I can't think of one right now that I regret not jumping into, not at the moment.
All right. Well, you know something? The thing about it is, just as we talked about the power, the yes and the no. You may have an opportunity where you may ask a question and you may get a yes or you may get a no. Understanding too, even the no doesn't mean that it is final.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it has gone away for eternity. No, it just means that you need to be on your P's and Q's so that when the opportunity rolls, if it does, because sometimes the opportunity will not come back.
Yeah.
But if it does come back around, you go ahead and prepare yourself. Because I know we had this conversation. Yeah. We had the conversation on when we spoke.
Yeah.
And we talked about how I asked you the question in terms of even with a topic. And it was not something that you were accustomed to.
Right.
But I think it was also a learning opportunity.
It was.
So let's talk
that was
about
wonderful.
that experience.
Yes. So Rhea contacted me. You contacted me to come and join her and share the stage with her today. And she asked me what my topic was. And I was like, ugh. And I kind of tripped over my feet a little bit because in the recent past, over the past year or so, I've been asked to speak places, but I've been invited for very specific topics. So can you come and speak on this? Or I know you're good at teaching this, so can you come? And I've never had anybody to say, what are you speaking on? So I almost let fear set in, and I could have missed the opportunity if I had said, oh, well, I'm not the person to speak because I need you to tell me specifically. No, I asked questions. And then what I did was I went and added to my media kit topics because that taught me something, and I said, next time somebody asks me what I'm going to speak on, I'm going to have these topics that I'm going to fall back on so that I don't feel that fear. But feeling that fear stretched me and allowed me to change and presented me with a great opportunity to share a topic with you that I believe would be great, So every opportunity, even sometimes those fears aren't bad as long as we grow from them, as long as we learn from them.
And that's just it. I think the key there is we take moments to learn from every single opportunity, everything, every experience. What is the lesson? Find what the lessons are in them so that we can learn from them, take the nuggets from it. And I like to talk about or even give the scenario with the being at a buffet.
Yeah.
You could have a whole spread in the front of you, but guess what? You can choose. Let's choose what it is that we're going to take from this buffet and see how it is that we can actually apply the principles. And you did just that. You took what it is that you needed. You said, something, I'm not going to do with fair today, boo, but I'm going to now grab a hold of the opportunity and learn from it. And then you added it to your media kit.
Right.
And now you're prepared for the next time
I'm ready.
An opportunity comes and the question comes at you and say, well, hey, Dallas, what can you speak on? And I think there too is a something that a lot of persons even miss out on, even in terms of being prepared.
Yeah.
Being prepared to the point where you may have had an experience that happened before. You learn from it, see how you can apply it, but be prepared so that if the opportunity comes, if you have an idea as to where it is that you're headed, start to map some things out.
Yeah.
Start to map it out so that you can it's preparation. When preparation meets opportunity, you're guaranteed success. That's a quote that I heard like so long ago, but I believe in it.
Yeah.
Because when the opportunity shows up, you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Be prepared, be already in the motion so that when that opportunity comes up, you can still say, something, yes, I have something in my little bag right here.
Yeah.
Let me just pull this out.
Right.
Because even with me asking you the question about the topic, you still had something that you could have pulled on.
Yeah.
You had something in your toolkit. It's just that you had to change the way that you looked at it.
Yeah.
You had to change your perspective on it and then see how you could go ahead and rework it and say, something, maybe this is how I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah. And then another thing too is that's why I believe, divine connections happen, because I could have taken that with you saying to me, well, what's your topic? And I could have said, well, what is she going to think of me if I admit to her that no one's ever asked me that before? So I think that some people miss out on a learning experience because they're too afraid to admit where they are. So I could have said, I'm supposed to be so great in these social media streets. And I'm telling her that I don't know.
Toot your own horn.
Right. And I'm like telling her that I don't know. But I was transparent enough to say, look, I'm going to tell her. And what she thinks about me is not my business. I have to tell her. And, you helped me to outline things and to get things, and that taught me something, so I was able to add it and grow from there. So sometimes we just got to step out from behind that fear and step out from behind that shame. And a lot of times these connections that we're getting with people are great learning experience if we allow it to be, if we embrace them.
Yeah, I've actually had a whole lot of experience, even with the other guests that I probably would have had, even on shows or previous shows, the actual live radio shows, where persons would come in and just do the complete opposite of what I've asked them to do.
I've had that.
And, you had to be able to help them out, to say, something, well, allow me to help you. Just the very same thing, even with having the conversation, which is why it's also important to have conversations beforehand. If you know that you're preparing a show or you're trying to go ahead and you want to do a Facebook Live, a joint with someone, have the conversation ahead of time so you can know what you're getting yourself into. Even as we would have given the challenge, to go ahead and do a Facebook Live. Another thing, even with doing the Facebook Live, is that you can actually go ahead and do a joint with someone.
Yeah.
If you're afraid to do it by yourself, find someone who is comfortable with Facebook Live.
Right.
And something, I'm just going to sit on the side with you.
Yeah.
And even before we even started to do the recording for today, that's what we ended up doing, a joint Facebook Live. And you get to feed off of each other's energy.
Yes, you do an icebreaker. Helps you to break the ice.
It helps you to break the ice and then gets the conversation going. And even it makes you feel a little bit more relaxed because the pressure is now off of you. I don't have to go ahead and engage this audience by myself. I have someone that's there that can actually help me to engage this audience and keep them going.
Yes, I agree.
Oh my goodness, this is really, really good. What other thing, I know you talked about, and this is our previous conversation, we talked about being able to master the online space and even starting a business online. How easy is it to start a business online?
I wouldn't really put easy on it. I wouldn't lie and say that this is easy. I don't think that it's for everybody. I don't think that, I think that some people take, I don't want to, step on too many toes, but some people take like an employee mindset over into their entrepreneurship, and it just doesn't, it's not the same, because when you work for someone else, they handle everything. They, handle the overhead, they handle, the big bills. They tell you what it is that you need to do for the day. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to be responsible for yourself, for your own time. You have to have that discipline. You have to have that don't give up attitude. So I won't say that it's necessarily the easiest thing that someone would do, but I would say that it's worth it, if that's what you want. Wouldn't put easy on it, though.
It's worth it. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
It's worth it.
So for the person that may be considering moving from the space of employee to entrepreneur, it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Right.
Now, what are 3 things that you would say that makes it worth it for someone who is transitioning from the place of employee to entrepreneur? Because I can give you my own personal testimony with having to do the transition. I've been in the banking arena for 19 years.
Wow.
And I walked away and I'm like, after having done so many things, having a radio show, writing so many books, having the speaking engagements, and of course extending myself into a whole lot of other things, it becomes a lot more challenging when we're talking about the balance as well, because I have the children and the house and everything else that's going on. But there comes a time when you have to understand the power of letting go. And I think in this particular segment here, I want us to talk about the power of letting go and what that really means and how that even translates. So for me, it was having to walk away from something that I've come to know for so long. It's hard to let go of something that is familiar. This is something that I've known, I've grown to know for how many ever years. And then what do you do when you have to make that first step? It's a whole lot of fear that comes in. You go through the mind battles that says, what if I'm making a mistake? What if this is the biggest mistake of my life?
God forbid.
God forbid. You understand? But I think it also still pulls in, though, for me, in the title of my book, the first book, it's Time to Push. I think for me, it really gives me the indication, or even the message, you have to push a little bit more. And you're going to have to push a whole lot more from a different place, because you're no longer the employee. You're now the entrepreneur.
Yes.
So what has been your experience in terms of the transition from the employee to entrepreneur, or starting even out in the entrepreneurship space?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we were talking about whether it's worth it or not, or what are the things that make it worth it. Of course, it's not like a one size fit all for everybody, but especially for that person, we're speaking, I would say, specifically for that person who is an employee who really just desires to do something else. And like you said, we get locked into doing things because we have to, out of need. So sometimes we fall into certain jobs. We don't necessarily love them, but we know that it pays the bills. It takes care of the people that we love.
It pays the mortgage, it pays the car, it pays the school loans, the credit cards.
So it handles all that, but it's not necessarily our passion. It's not necessarily what we were born to do. We're just kind of falling into it. We're just kind of doing it. So one of the best things about branching out and becoming this entrepreneur is that your job gets to be what you love to do every single day. And sometimes that's not all gravy. It's not all beautiful all the time. But for the most part, you get to show up and get paid to have fun. And to live in your passion.
Get paid to have fun. Who doesn't want to get paid to have fun?
Right. It doesn't feel like work anymore. And that's why you're able, like you mentioned, to stay up all night and do it and really not feel like you even missed a blink of sleep, because you love doing this. This is something that you absolutely positively love. You get to break barriers. You get to call the shots. It takes some real perseverance and some time to grow your business. But once you start to see your income flowing into your business the way you want to, when you want to be wheels up and you want to take trips and you want to go speak places and see things and meet new people. Let's just say I wanted to visit you in the Bahamas. Right. Yes, or you want to go on tour. Let's say we meet and your birthday comes up and you say, Dallas, can you come down and celebrate with me? As an entrepreneur, I can get my ticket and I can fly. I can break barriers that once before I couldn't do because I didn't have to do it. Yeah. So I think that if you are steadfast and consistent, and you have all the tools and the connections and the coaches and the things that you need so that you can grow, and overall you have the mindset, the dedication, the discipline, the determination to get up every day and to go, you will break through and start to see some of these freedoms, in your life. So I think the freedom aspect, loving what you do, being able to call the shots in your own life, those are some of the best perks of being an entrepreneur.
And then also being able to be flexible enough beyond just being able to the wheels up and do the tours,
the little things,
also the little things, but still the more important things, even being able to spend time with family. Because even as we would have talked with the snow, being snowed in, you were able, and you didn't have to call in
and say, oh, can I stay home?
No, you didn't have to call in and say whether or not you can stay home. You're at home. So it was easy for you to be able to still be able to handle your children, handle your family, even in that space as an entrepreneur.
It takes time, because like I said before, I think people come into it with an easy, this is going to be easy because it wasn't my job. Everything was provided for me. It's not like that. And for some people, they want to quit because the first couple years is tough. Maybe you envisioned quitting this job for having more time with your kids. Maybe you have less time with your kids than you did when you had the job because you're building a business. And those are things you got to think about, that certain sacrifices might have to come on the front end, but they will be 100% worth it.
All right, so the forms of letting go, there are two forms of letting go that I want to talk about real quick. It's both the concrete and the intangible. And we've already actually started to talk about some of the things, like you mentioned the unfulfilling jobs. How many persons are actually with these unfulfilling jobs that you probably just simply need to let go? And it's not even from the place of having to let it go to go straight into entrepreneurship, but letting it go, you may actually need to change jobs. Just simply change scenery, find something else that's probably even more so closely connected to your passion and where it is that your heart really is, because that's where you're going to find the extra energy, the extra boost to even do a little bit more, to go above and beyond and extend into I don't know. It just may be, and I'm going right back to it. Another stream of income, yet again.
Right.
So you have both the concrete and the intangible, even the unpleasant relationships. How many persons are in the toxic relationships that's just draining them and just wearing them down? But you have to let them go. I think I want to let that sit just
put that right there.
Yeah. You know, the thing about it is these are real things. Mm-hmm. The unfulfilling jobs, the toxic relationships, the inappropriate goals, the limiting beliefs, the mindset. We've already touched on the mindset. Yeah. Those are some of the things that we have to let go in order for us to go into the next and be able to see the fulfillment of the things that it is that our hearts really desire. Mm-hmm. We have to let go of those, even the damaging habits. What are some of the habits? And I think this is a good time to even reflect, think of some of the habits that you may actually have that you actually need to let go of.
Yeah.
Is it the bad eating habit? Oh my goodness. Or the not drinking water habit.
Yeah, it's a lot of things out there, yes.
There are a whole lot of things. Even the detrimental emotions. My goodness, the power of letting go. We have to let those things go. Have you had any experience with holding on to something that you needed to let go, and you found that when you actually did let it go, things actually started to move for you?
Absolutely. Where do I even start with that? It's lots of things. A whole lot of things that we hold on to.
What's the top of mind? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about something that you actually came to that place of having to let it go in order for you to move on?
I mean, we can look at, healthy eating. We can look at that one. Mm-hmm. Recently coming into the new year, I hired a health coach. And that really took my fitness, my health, my eating up to the next level. Just having somebody to be accountable to and just not being ashamed to talk to somebody about, okay, I've had these kids. I'm still repeating these habits, from being pregnant with children, and I haven't really laid those habits down. I just can't seem to gain control here to get back into the body I want. And I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to hire anybody. I was holding on to, I can do this myself. And sometimes we are not equipped, to do everything ourselves. Sometimes we need someone. We need an expert. Sometimes we need a coach. And me stepping outside of myself to actually call on someone has taken that up a notch. It's just starting to flow. It's starting to come together.
Now, how has that actually impacted other areas of your life? Because, we may think about the letting go of the whole idea of eating bad, and that only has to do with your health. But how has that impacted
so much
other areas of your life?
More vitality, a clear mind, more energy, more excitement. When you get in tune with your health, I know you probably heard it said before that health is wealth. Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true, because when you treat your body like $1 million, you treat what you put inside as $1 million, you'd be surprised. You start making more money. You start making more connections. You start having more energy to show up in your work in a different way that you weren't showing up before. So many things start to come together when you start with yourself,
Start with yourself.
Yeah.
And let go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The next thing I want to talk about is, why is trust necessary? And when we're talking about letting go, we have to talk about trust, because trust is important. Trust is necessary when you're letting go, because in order for you to let go of the old, you have to embrace or not be afraid. You have to trust the unknown.
Oh, yeah.
Trust an unknown space. And that was one of the things that was really difficult for me. Even in my thought process, I'm like, I don't know this space. Yeah. So how do I now step into a space that I know not of? And how do I say, well, something, I'm really going to do that? I had to come to that place where I trusted so that I could move into the new space. And I think that probably is the same thing that held true or holds true even with you finding your coach.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How easy was it for you to trust your coach?
Well, once I got like my mind wrapped around actually reaching out to her, that was just one and done for me. Okay. Once I hired her, paid her, reached out to her, at that point I just trusted the process that she was taking me through, because at the same time I'm a coach, so God knows I don't want to be a bad student. So that really worked for me.
But you also made an investment.
Yeah, that too.
You made an investment. And as much as, we talk about there being the social media and the internet making everything so easy for us, in the midst of it, as long as we probably don't even find ourselves to the place where we're going to invest in what it is that we're doing, then it makes it, something, if I'm going to put my money in it.
Oh, yeah. We're going to make this work.
I have to get my money's worth out of it. It actually helps to keep us grounded in what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%.
Make the investment.
Yes.
Don't be afraid. Find the coach, who it is that you need to connect with, the health coach, the wealth coach, whoever it is that you need to find and invest in yourself.
Yeah.
I also believe that letting go actually helps to springboard us into our next. It becomes the driving force that actually causes us to execute.
Yeah.
Because as you let go of something, then you now position yourself, something. And I'm going to use this analogy of you being the person that has, or the individual that has all of these bags on. Can you imagine you let go of 10 pounds?
Yeah.
Then you drop off another 20 pounds. You're a whole lot more freer to now do a lot more things than you were positioned to do when you were at 120 pounds.
Right.
Now you're at 100 pounds.
True.
What is it that you need to let go of? And that's what I want to challenge people with. Think deeply, think intently about what it is that you actually need to let go of so that you can begin to set some things in motion and then be intentional. We talked about that in the first segment where we talked about intentionality. The intentionality is what actually causes the things that we want to be attracted to us. Be intentional to make the connections. Be intentional to make the phone call. Be intentional to send the email. And as you begin to do these things, then you're going to see, because even as my friends and I were doing the Baltimore tour, and we started to say, you know something, we're going to Baltimore. We're going to have the tour there. We're going to start it off. And then what happens? You have people now saying, why don't you come to us? Why don't you? But mind you, it was not the original thought to say, something, I'm going to go to this particular location or the next location. But now the opportunities now begin to open up because the intention has been set.
Right.
The intention has been set to say, something, we're going to go ahead and do this. These are some of the key places where we're going. And now the doors are just, all right, come. I want you to come this place. So the intention has been set, and now it brings action, it brings execution, and it brings a whole lot more of opportunities as well. What is the ultimate act of courage when we're talking about letting go? So I have here the ultimate act of letting go of what's good is for what is unknown. That's the ultimate act of courage. And I believe that that's the ultimate act of courage, because if something is good and it's already working for you, how easy would that be for you to let that thing go? Because it's already working. And now you need to find yourself in the space of an unknown. What has been your experience with letting go of something that's good and something that's already working for something that is totally unknown?
Wow. Okay. There have been pivots in my business that I've had to do that multiple times. And I call it, moments that you have to almost crawl again, which, every now and then in life and in business, we have to return to that baby again. We have to crawl again. We have to go into the unknown, forget about all that we ever knew and learn all over again. And there are a whole lot of different pivots in my business since I've been in business, and I've actually had to do that. More recently, probably in the last few months, I sold a few stores that were actually generating income. However, to get to my next, I had to sell them to put more time on my plate for larger projects. So I had to get rid of things that were working, that were producing income, that were fun for me, that were comfortable for me and familiar for me, to put myself in another position to make more time for greater income in some areas that were a little unknown to me. And I've had to do that multiple times, specifically in my business.
But I like how you even touched on being able to make more time. And then being able to, because even with you making more time, it sounds to me that you're actually zooming in a lot more with what it is that you really need to be doing.
Yeah.
What needs my attention at this particular moment is the thing that seems to, or you have the hopes that's going to bring you the greater return at the end of the day.
Right.
Because it's so easy that we can, as we talked about making noise in the online space, we can get so caught up with doing so many bits and pieces of things that it's still not yielding the return and the results that we actually want to see.
Yeah, sometimes I think we have to let go to have greater impact in the end, because sometimes we spread ourselves too thin And it's not necessarily that the money we're making isn't good, you know, but in order to have more focus, which is so important as an entrepreneur, and more greater impact, sometimes we have to let some of the little strings go so that we can put more focus onto that bigger impact that we want to make. Yeah.
The question I want to put out there is, what's the bigger impact that you want to make? It may sound as though it's a far-reaching question, but what's the impact? What's the extent of your impact? As a lot of times we find that people think that the place where they live, that's their sphere of influence, or that's as far as they can go in terms of the impact. But the world is a marketplace.
Yeah.
The world is your marketplace. Do not confine yourself to where it is that you're located. Think beyond that. And even as we talked about the digital space, with having online books, it makes it so much more easier for persons from other parts of the world, because with all of my books that's available on Amazon, I've found that I had persons purchasing books from all over the place and places I've never been before. And I love to tell people, for me, I like the whole idea of being able to make money while I'm sleeping.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
I do not want to go ahead and have to trade my trade dollars for time, in terms of me having to actually be present for me to go ahead and make the dollar. No, let me go ahead and
coin.
Listen, let me do the work. I don't mind doing the work, but I don't mind also being able to be paid as I'm sleeping. And I think for those persons that may even be thinking or considering opportunities for them to have the other streams of income, let go of the mindset that you have to stay in the traditional form of business. It has to be a brick and mortar, because not every store has to be brick and mortar. The stores that you actually sold, they were not brick and mortar. They were online stores, right?
Right. Yep. Online stores.
It's possible. Online stores, go ahead. You can start your business and get yourself started and see it takes a learning process. It takes a learning curve. And there were some mindsets that you had to let go too of, I'm sure, when you got started in the online business space.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How was the support from those persons around you? Did you have any support? What was that? What was that like? What was that experience like when you first said, you know something, I'm going to go in the online space? Because sometimes when we are going on an unknown journey, and the people around us may not totally understand where it is that we're headed, I think I want to actually put it to you this way. How easy or how difficult was it for you to actually stay focused in the midst of you having to go at something that you knew that you were called to do, but the people around you did not fully see it as yet?
I think that for me, the biggest battles have been like with me, you know, internally, because I have a very strong support system. So thank God, you know, when I was ready to retire my job to go into full-time entrepreneurship, my husband didn't understand it. He probably was like, who have I married? Oh my, you know, he probably was like, oh my gosh, she wants to live off of me. Just, you know, he probably had a lot of thoughts, but he didn't understand it, but he supported it. And he's always been very supportive, never put me down. Probably my greatest encourager. My other family members, I come from a family of great entrepreneurship, so everyone was really supportive. But I think that my biggest, you know, enemy was my own thoughts, was battling me. Can I do this? You know, did I make the right decision? Oh, this, you know, I failed in this, because I had lots of fails. You know, lots of fails, not all wins. Plenty of times I made certain decisions financially, certain moves in business, and they were just dead wrong. I lost money. I've had times where I've lost lots of money that we invested as a couple, and I had my husband kind of side-eyeing, you know, me. So yeah, it's tough, but I think the biggest enemy or the biggest distraction was my own thoughts. Really, not really the people around me.
Well, that's good, because not all the time you would find that there are strong support systems around you. And I think even there, we want to also encourage people that it's always good to find that support system. Yeah. Because in those moments, in the highs and the lows, you want to ensure that you have that support system that's there to say, you know something, I'm going to be that one to say, you could do this.
Yeah.
You may be down right now, but how about you shift your perspective? And sometimes it really just takes the conversation to say, something, the approach could be different. You maybe need to look at it a different way. You need to probably make this particular connection, this particular phone call, and there you have it. You have the answer to your problem.
Yeah.
You have an answer to your problem just by you looking at your connections, who it is that you're connected to, or even the support system that you do have around you. And we go right back to letting go. The letting go, it gives you room for success. It gives you room for freedom. It gives you room for expansion, because you would have let yourself go from all of these added weights. And then you have the peace, the joy, the love, all of those things can actually come in because you would have let go. And I will even talk about letting go of the hurts.
Yep. Yeah.
Because sometimes we can even get stuck with what somebody did to us in our past and cause that to be the thing that also cripples us from our now, and even still moving into things that we have for our future. So let those things go. I want to ask the question, what part of you is standing in your way of the next? And that's not for you. That's for our audience. What part of you is standing in your way or standing in the way of your next? Take a moment to actually identify what that thing is. What is the thing that's standing in your way or standing in the way of your next that may cause you to not fully embrace who it is that you are, and then be able to move one step closer? It's one step at a time.
Yeah.
There are many times, we talk about taking one day at a time. I say a day is too much for me to take at a time. I'm going to take it one step at a time, one foot before the other. And at the end of the day, by the time you put one step before the other, you'll be able to make it. You'll make it one step at a time. The thing to do when you feel stuck. What is that thing to do when you feel stuck? Have you had any, I'm sure you had those stuck moments. What was the thing that you did when you felt as though you were stuck?
Yeah, remind yourself of why you started. That's the biggest motivator there.
Yes.
It's just, when you feel stuck, remind yourself of why you started in the first place. Revisit that why. And that normally can push you out of that stuck place. And also realize that it's okay to feel stuck. Because every now and then we're not going to feel at our best every second. We're going to have some days when we do feel not as normal, not as our normal self. And it's okay to be there for a day or for a moment. And just remember, though, and I think that goes back to loving yourself and knowing yourself as well, asking yourself, what do I need right now? Because sometimes sometimes I work so much that I work myself into a, place where I'm tired of working and I feel stuck today, and I feel like I'm fighting with myself to work. Wow. What do I need in those moments? Sometimes the last thing I need on those days is to do more work. Sometimes I need to break it up. Go hang out with mom. Go get a lunch. Go get an ice cream. I don't know. What do I need to do? Go to the spa. Sometimes
go
it's
on
best.
An adventure.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to break away from what you do every day, and it's time to stop. So sometimes it's time to go do the opposite of what you've been doing to get unstuck. And then the next day you show up back into your life, into your business with more passion. You feel refreshed. But sometimes it's just time to do something different.
Yeah. I think one of the things for me is, and we talked about even having balance, but we talked about it from a different perspective. And I think this is a prime opportunity to even talk about the importance of having balance, in that even when we do find ourselves in that space where we're working, we also need to understand that it's also okay to have a moment when we relax. We may be able to sit back, or we may be able to, for those of, I'm from the Bahamas, so every so often, if I'm having myself a moment, I can find myself to the beach. Yeah. Just sit there with my feet in the water or something like that. What is the thing that you will probably need to do so that you can get away from the all of the busyness, all of the work, all of the noise that's around, so that you can have a moment? And that's a good time to even self-reflect. Yeah. Take a moment to think while you're at this quiet place. You may find yourself at a quiet place, like I say, to the beach. Find yourself somewhere on a walk. Go for a run. Whatever it is that you may need to do, but it helps you with finding that place and that space of being balanced and not being the one that says, something, I can't. Because if we are not careful, you find yourself also at that place of being burnt out.
Yeah. So true.
Burnt out, and then you can't do anything else.
Yeah, then you have to sit there. You can't do, like you said, you can't move at that point.
I like to tell people, I said, listen, the thing about it is you can choose to go ahead and take a break, either do it voluntarily or involuntarily.
Yeah.
Which one is
Either
it going to
way,
be?
It's going to happen.
Either way, it's going to happen. And sometimes I have to say that to myself. And then I also have those voices, the voices that I have around me that will say, something, Rhea, I think at this particular point, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
You just need to take a minute, take a break. No work, time to play. And not just so much playing in the literal sense, but just taking a breather. Yep. You need to be able to breathe. And from the multiple hats that we're wearing, wives, mothers, women, men, we all need to be able to take that time in order for us to breathe. The thing to let go of is usually the thing that you are afraid to release. I think that there too is one of the things that we need to be mindful of. The thing that we are afraid to release is sometimes a good indication of what it is that we need to let go of, because we're holding on so dear, holding it so tight to us that, what happens if I do let this go? What if this ball drops? What happens? Well, the ball may actually bounce. Does it mean that you're all broken, you're all shattered if something was to fall to the ground or if something seemed to not work out? No, we still need to understand that there is still power in letting go so that we can actually move on and embrace yet again the fullness of who it is that we were created to be, and being that impact, because each and every one of us have a message. Each one of us have something that we can share to impact the lives of others. Many times, even with having the shows, persons will be like, something, and not every time, and this is also to encourage those persons that's actually listening in, watching in, not every time that you may actually find yourself doing a Facebook Live or whatever it is that you may do, not every single time you're going to have persons actually come back to you to say, that was amazing, right. That was great, I was impacted by it. Not every single time you'll have that person or have persons actually come back to you to say that thing to you. But no matter what, if you understand your why, if you know what it is that you were called to do, what your purpose is and what it is that you're going after, then you continue to push. Keep on pushing, keep on moving, and ask your support system around you, well, how did I do? Was it okay? And get feedback. There's nothing wrong with getting feedback, because we learn from we can learn from it. Take what it is that you want to take from it, leave what you don't need, and then you go ahead and you move on. Do you have any final words? And I something, I want to say thank you so much, Dallas. It's been an amazing, amazing time us having this conversation, and I am grateful for this opportunity we would have had for you to sit here live, being a part of history with the Ideal Life live here in Baltimore. Is there anything else that you want to wrap up, just to tie up your segment, even talking about making noise in an online digital space? What would you like to say as your final words?
My final words, well, thank you for having me, first of all. I really appreciate it. My final words would just be, think about the greater impact, because a lot of the reasons why people don't show up in the social media space, they don't tap into their passion, like we talked about, for fear of what people might think, for fear of the unknown, and all these things that, as you said, they're afraid to let go of. So I think that if we just focus on the end result, the impact that we want to make, and we put that ahead of our fears, because there's nothing wrong with facing our fears. There's nothing wrong with fears, as long as you do it anyway. When they say face the fear and do it anyway, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's okay to feel the fear, but as long as you take action, and don't allow that fear to hold you back, you'll make a greater impact in the world. So I would just say be intentional, focus on the greater impact that you want to make in the world. And I believe that has the power to drown out that fear and push you forward into action.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure having you here on this live episode of The Ideal Life. And listen, I want to say thank you to you, the audience, for being such a great audience here today. It was was an amazing, amazing time. For those of you, I am Rhea C. Newbold. I'm from Nassau, Bahamas. If you want to get in contact with me, you can actually do so. Dallas, you didn't tell people how they can get in contact with you before I give them my information. How can people reach out to you?
ecomcashqueen.com, and I'm at ecomcashqueen across all of my social media platforms, or Dallas Gordon. Either way.
All right. So make sure if you want to reach out to Dallas, please do get in contact with her. If you want to get in contact with me, you can actually check out my website. That's RheaCNewbold.com. That's RIACNEWBOLD.com. Or you can actually friend me on Facebook. Send me, do something. That's at Rhea C. Newbold, or on Instagram. That's Newbold Rhea. All right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And listen, wells of wealth cultivators, we are all wells of wealth. All right, we have a whole lot that's locked up on the inside of us, and we need to just make sure that we find ourselves connected with the right people that can help to pull out those hidden gifts, the talents, and even the streams of income that's locked up on the inside of us. All right, so it's been my pleasure, and that's it for us for today. So thank you so much. You've been a great audience.